Damn, bruh. Essay.
Cole Sprouse, star of Disney Channel's Sweet Life of Zack and
Damn.
Cody and Sweet Life on Deck, spoke out 2 years ago about the hypersexualization of female Disney Channel stars. In an interview, he said, "The young women on Disney Channel were so heavily sexualized from such an earlier age than my brother and I that there's absolutely no way that we could compare our experiences. And every single person going through that trauma has a unique experience." Only 2 years after that, he did a sit-down interview on the Call Her Daddy podcast, where he revealed a lot of personal details about his life, his career, and his relationships, including the story about how he lost his virginity at 14 years old.
I met this girl who was older, all right, so that's already dubious. I knocked on her hotel door. She came out, we went down to the beach, and we were on some chaise lounges, and I looked at her and my heart was beating and I finally mustered up enough courage to deliver a line that my brother has never, ever let down for me. I looked at her and I was like, "So, are you DTF?"
And there was one question that was firmly on the mind of many people after the interview. How much older than him was this girl?
Brother. First of all, what type of res is that, gang? What in the 1980s ass game? What the fuck? But nah, though, I ain't lying. Judging by that, well, he ain't say no age, but 9 times out of 10, bro, that woman probably was in her early 20s, probably, because he was 14. So I know she was going, bro. Child stars, bro. The Sprouse twins. She definitely was going, bro. 20, she probably was around 20 something, bro. But that's insane, dog. 20 years old, messing with a 14-year-old. Nah, I guess.
So I have complicated feelings when it comes to child stars, and one thing that I've always felt that we never really talk about or put enough of a spotlight on is the exploitation of young teen male stars. Now, whenever we have conversations around the exploitation and over-sexualization of teen stars, it is almost always in the context of teen girl stars, and I do think that it is a very important conversation to have. And the research has shown that girls are extremely vulnerable to those types of exploitation. So this is in no way saying this is a bigger issue for boys or that it is happening to boys more often than girls. The data doesn't support that. But I do think in our overall public consciousness, there is this blind spot when it comes to the over-sexualization of young boys, and that creates opportunities for not only teen male stars, but also just boys out in the world to be exploited and taken advantage of. And that really is a larger societal problem. We do not take the sexualization of boys seriously, especially if the predator of that harm is a woman.
I sure do feel close to you, Kelso.
Listen, Lori, I don't think my girlfriend, Jackie, would like you sitting on me.
I think you like me sitting on you. In fact, I know you do.
Okay. But that's not the point.
And we see that reflected so often in the types of media we consume. When boys are preyed upon by women, it is either played for laughs or it is seen as this aspirational achievement. That a boy so young...
But I ain't lying, dude. Nah, that shit, it's still, I ain't lying, it's still the same situation in a sense, but at the same time, I feel like if you a boy, it's like one of them if you know situations, cause I ain't lying, bruh. Us as men, bro, we just don't be caring sometimes, dog. I ain't gonna lie. Some fun shit, let's say we 15 years old, and let's say we see some fine shit 22. I ain't lying. 9 times out of 10, if we go with our move and we in these dudes' positions, a teen star type shit, I ain't lying, bro. Nigga crush. 9 times out of 10, nigga crushes. If it's some fine shit, nigga crushing. It's then she older, so she know the game a little more. I'm going crazy. I don't give a fuck. I'm 15 years old. She like 22. I'm grushy. No map. I ain't gonna lie. And you would never know. You would never know. Like, it's a real That's why I say it's a little different for the boys as opposed to the girls, because it's like the double standard is I don't know, bro. I don't even want to get too in depth with the convo, but if you
able
know,
to
you
have
know.
a woman be attracted to him.
Look, no! She has a boyfriend.
Yeah, me.
No, it's some young guy from the club. Oh boy. How did this happen?
I'll tell you how this happened because nobody was willing to say what needs to be said. No, 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 and hell no.
And that isn't a problem because he's a boy, so of course he would be amenable and reciprocate those advances. And that just continually shows up all around us. There are several real-life cases of boys being preyed upon by women. So I want to look into why that is and how that is reflected in the media we consume, and how ultimately it creates an environment for people to be harmed and taken advantage of.
They really put the Riverdale scene in it.
The psychology of boys and sex. So the real building block to this phenomena is the idea that men are constantly seeking sex and that women are simply passive participants. The idea hinges on the belief that at any given time, men are always in pursuit of sex and will never deny sex. And that creates this blind spot of female sexual abusers, because if men always want sex, then women cannot forcibly extract sex from men. They are simply passive participants.
Right. What? Rape.
I ain't lying though. That's definitely not true though, bro. I'm not that horny, man, my guy. Like I really could care less about this shit, to be honest. Like, if I'm being real, this shit really not that serious. I ain't lying. I kind of stay away from it as often like as possible nowadays, cause bro, these girls got too much going on, bro. It be a whole lot going on, and I don't got time for it. So I'd rather just not have, sex or whatever sometimes. I ain't gonna lie. But sometimes the feeling do come, like, I mean, we human, bro. We all get horny here and there. But it's like, dog, I ain't gonna lie. I just can't, I don't know, bro. I just can't hit any and everything walking, bro. Like, I don't know. I'm a different nigga, bro. I don't know. Like, just because you got a pretty face, if your personality ain't right, I don't know. I don't think I can fuck with it. No cap. That's just me, though. I don't know. Every nigga different. That's why I say you can't put everybody in one basket, because everybody's thought process a little different when it comes down to that shit. No bat.
Rape. This is what raping is. You're a raper and you raped me. That's a rape.
Oh,
Rape.
oh, just relax there, Jodie Foster.
Whenever research is conducted on the ages at which young boys and girls have their first sexual experiences, on average, boys are having their first sexual experiences as young as 12 years old, while girls on average tend to be a little older. In fact, studies have shown that between 4 and 8% of boys have already had their first sexual experiences before the age of 12. And that number...
That is true, though, because I ain't gonna lie, though, bro. I was dry humping at the age of, like, fucking 9, dude. Like, that's why I say, like, I ain't lying. Us as boys, bro, we be horny out the gate. I ain't gonna lie. As a youngin', nigga really be horny as shit. But like, once you get older, it be on some shit like, I mean, it depends on the type of person you are. Like, if you a person who like grew up like I guess like getting girls, but not the shit on people, but like if you grew up like talking to girls and shit like often, like the older you get, you don't see the shit as nothing. Like it's not that big of a deal type shit. Like you become less and less horny type shit. Like you don't be too hard up to hit a bit type shit. But like I feel like growing up and you not really getting that many girls, typically I feel like dudes like that, like they become like horny people. Like the older they get, like they start, that be the niggas who eating ass and shit like that. Like that's them type of niggas type shit. But it depends. Like that's why I say everybody different, because they got a lot of niggas who got girls growing up and shit, and them niggas be hornballs type shit. So it really just varied between the dude type shit. I ain't gonna lie. They really just vary. I ain't gonna cap.
Especially higher among black boys who on average have an earlier sexual debut than any other race or gender. And it really all just comes back to this idea that boys, no matter how young they are always in pursuit of sex and have the tools to handle it. So whenever cases arise of an older woman having inappropriate relations with an underage boy, there's this reasoning that he must have also wanted it to happen. And if that is the case, then it's a good thing. Something aspirational. I also just want to highlight that the idea of men always wanting sex also hurts women. If men always want sex and are slaves to their sexual desires, then that creates an excuse for the sexual assault of women at the hand of men. The idea being that men simply cannot control themselves and will forever be in pursuit of sex.
You thirsty?
Oh, you bet I am.
Okay, here's your penis.
All of that also just stems from how maleness interacts very differently with sex than femininity. In a lot of ways, there's a binary construct where early sexual experiences for boys indicates virility, maturity, and in a lot of ways is seen as a true indicator of a boy's masculinity. That is the polar opposite for girls, where early sexual experiences are seen as early signs of promiscuity, recklessness, and low self-worth. Boys having sex is simply an expression of their masculinity. It's natural. Girls having sex too early is a betrayal to their femininity and self-worth. Unnatural. Sex for boys raises their value. Sex for girls lowers their value. And those attitudes blaze into the real world and how we treat young male stars. The hypersexualization of boys in media. So I firmly believe that the media we consume reflects the world we live in and our attitudes towards social structures. I also believe that media and art can expand and change the way we view and interact with the world. And because of that, I do think that the media we consume, even from an early age, forms the building blocks of how we decide to engage with the world. And so much of my childhood was inundated with images of young boys being portrayed as hypersexual. I feel like my early exposure to that was Drake from Drake and Josh. Drake kind of started out as a regular guy who was a bit more confident and smooth than his brother Josh.
What y'all know about Drake and Josh, though? That's that fucking bro. That's literally my favorite show, like on Nickelodeon, bro. That show is so fire, bro. No cap. If you ain't watch Drake and Josh, my God, do you live under a rock? Cause what the hell have you been for the last couple of years?
As the show went on, Drake kind of became a caricature of himself, and the most distinguished aspect of his characterization is that he's really dumb and really hot. Girls love Drake, and throughout the show, he's been depicted as a womanizer, jumping from girl to girl,
This was Duke Dennis before Duke Dennis, bro. Like, this really was the white version of Duke Dennis, bro. No cap.
Romantic interest in almost every episode. But what's interesting is that
the more I think about it, did this nigga low-key create Unspoken Reds though? Cause Drake had damn near every bit, brother. He didn't even have to try. Like, he could just walk past a bit and he had her, bro. I think low-key, hold on, Drake might have created Unspoken Reds before it became a thing. No cap.
Is Drake never allowed to grow and form long-lasting, meaningful connections with girls? Whenever it does seem like Drake might actually have a bond with someone, it never lasts. And in the show, it's presented in this way of Drake being so hot that every girl at any given moment likes him and wants to be with him.
The more I think about it, how many girls did this nigga kiss throughout the show? Cause this nigga always was kissing somebody's daughter, bro. He always was kissing somebody's daughter. Like, what?
He simply cannot control himself and has to act on those urges. We see where Drake, even at the expense of ruining his relationship with his brother, will prioritize his sexual urges over everything else.
Where's Drake? All right, our chemistry exam starts in less than half an hour.
He left.
He left?
All right, class, close your books, put all materials underneath your desk. Drake, stop kissing cat. Your exam is about to begin. You will have exactly 55 minutes to complete your...
Look, I'm sorry about this morning, all right? But Kat called and wanted to make out, and, Kat.
Yes, she's very pretty.
And in the show, Drake being so attractive means he can get away with it. Obviously, Drake only gets away with acting like that because he's a guy. Promiscuity in boys is not only accepted, but it's encouraged. Drake will start making out with a girl he just met and doesn't even know the name of, and because he's a boy, that's always presented.
That nigga was flashing though, man. You can't be just going around kissing all these women though, bro. No cap though. He didn't even know half of the girls' names. He didn't even get to know the bit. You don't even know, bro. You don't even know the girl birthday bit. You don't even know her zodiac sign. Damn, nigga, calm down, horny ass nigga. Hornball ass nigga.
Being something aspirational.
Drake? Yeah? You just met her and you're already kissing? And gave her a soda?
It's
Bro,
cool.
What?
That's something that all boys should strive to be able to do. Also, because Drake is attractive, his promiscuity is not only tolerated, it means he also gets a pass to be sexually aggressive. In the show, Drake walking up to a stranger and forcibly kissing them isn't a bad thing, because he's hot.
Bro.
So, of course, the girls would be into it.
Wait, I know I gotta kiss someone.
Like what?
What was that for?
I won a contest.
Yay.
But the same doesn't go for Josh. Even though Josh wasn't depicted as being overtly unattractive, because he's not as hot as Drake, when he tries to forcibly kiss a stranger, it doesn't turn out the same way.
Bro.
I won a contest.
Congratulations, man.
What the did this nigga just kiss a transformer? Hold on, gang. I don't remember that happening in the episode. Hold on. What the
Congratulations, man.
Wow. Pause.
Get it?
No Diddy.
Josh's punishment for being sexually aggressive is being tricked into kissing a trans woman. Isn't that hilarious? But Drake not being able to control himself is simply boys being boys. Those ideas are also expanded in other children's media, like Victorious. I think it's funny how much social commentary I've been able to excavate from Victorious, but Beck was always portrayed as unbelievably attractive. Every girl was swooning over him.
Bro,
he was so good looking, in fact, that he...
Beck, I forgot about Beck too, bro. I don't know who y'all think had the most biddies, bro. Him, Beck or Drake, bro. Beck or Drake, who y'all going for? Cause I ain't lying, both of them niggas went crazy. No cap though.
Grown women were attracted to him.
What?
And I want to point out something, because I think this show inadvertently created a perfect example of how drastically different our attitudes towards the predation of boys and girls are. In a season 1 episode, our main lead character, Tori, gets accosted by a grown man. He sees her, thinks she's attractive, and immediately tries to make a move. Once he realizes she's underaged, he moves on.
So, what's your name?
I'm 16.
Later.
The inappropriateness of the encounter is the joke. Now, the show does make light of it, they do present it in a humorous way, but Tori being hit on by a grown man isn't treated as a good thing. We are still meant to laugh, but we're meant to laugh at how inappropriate it is for an adult man to make a pass at an underage teenage girl. Juxtapose that with this scene with Beck.
Hey, are you in college yet?
Bye.
Very similar situation.
Bro.
Beck also gets hit on by a grown woman, but the joke here isn't that it was inappropriate for her to do so. We're not meant to laugh at these two jokes in the same way. Here, the comedy lies in the fact that Beck is so attractive that even grown women can't help but to make advances on him. It's not presented in the same way with Tori, where the man that hit on her was firmly portrayed as being inappropriate. Here, grown women hitting on Beck isn't inappropriate. The joke is just that Beck is so hot, women, even adult women, go crazy for him.
Damn,
It's about letting the emotions inside of you come out and represent moments.
Are you dating anyone?
Bro. Yeah, I lied, bro. I don't know, son. I don't know. It's all to him and Drake, bro. I don't know. That's tough. Them niggas was bagging shit, though. No doubt.
I just think we should know if he has a girlfriend. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Dang it!
Again, the idea that men are always in pursuit of sex and would never turn down a woman also hurts men. That also shows up in the media we consume, where the assault of men at the hands of women is either downplayed or is orchestrated in a comedic light. Even in kids' media, in iCarly, when Carly and Sam are fighting over the same attractive guy for the right to date him, they go to really ridiculous lengths to win him over, and they have a competition where the first girl to kiss him gets to date him. Eventually, it results in the guy getting seriously hurt and being put in the hospital, and Carly, while the guy is unconscious, steals a kiss.
She kissed him?
And it might seem like something really innocent, but again, it feeds into this idea that boys are always in pursuit of sexual gratification, and so girls can never infringe on their boundaries in that way. An almost identical situation happened in Victorious, where the girls were all fighting over one of Beck's friends. Eventually, that leads to Jade essentially kidnapping him and forcing herself onto him.
Car's out of gas.
The gauge says you have a full tank.
Try not to talk.
Yo!
Later, can we get a hamburger?
We'll see.
Because he's a boy, of course he would be okay with this. Why would he turn down an opportunity like this? There's an Adam Sandler movie released.
Though, that's kind of crazy, though. That's kind of crazy. I hope none of you women going this far. Kidnapping niggas and forcing yourself on? Hold on, chill. Hold on. That might do possibly get you crushed, though. That might do possibly get you crushed, because I ain't lying. That's some crazy shit. Like, I ain't lying. That's some crazy shit. Your bitch come and scoop you up and about to really, you know what I'm saying? But nah, I ain't lying though. Realistically though, you can't do no shit like that though, cause that's OD, bro. That's OD. No bap. That's OD.
2012 called That's My Boy that perfectly feeds into this idea. The movie's premise is about an underaged boy who is continuously assaulted by his teacher, and those assaults eventually lead to her pregnancy. The movie seems to have been inspired by many real-world cases of boys as young as 12 years old being assaulted by their female teacher. However, the movie presents this situation in a comedic tone and never treats the assault as an actual assault. No, in the movie, the boy being assaulted by his teacher is a good thing. It's a thing that makes people respect him, and the movie questions whether or not something like this should even be illegal, because obviously he would have wanted it as much as she did.
I am aware that a lot of people think that this young man is not really a victim, but someone that's living the ultimate teenage boy's fantasy.
In fact, this assault makes him so much of a hero in the public's eye that he becomes extremely famous because of it.
What the fuck?
Because him being that young and being able to command that kind of interest from an adult is aspirational. This trivialization of an assault of a boy at the hands of a woman is apparently so funny and so ironic that it's even a popular SNL sketch.
Did you feel pressured into being physical with Miss Luna?
No, I instigated it. After school, I went in and said, what could I do for some extra credit? And it was on.
Look at you.
Exploitation of underage male stars.
That's crazy, bro.
Now that we've looked at how the media reinforces harmful ideas around the sexualization of young boys, we can now look at some real-world examples where underage male stars were exploited and taken advantage of, and how those attitudes continue to persist to this day. Do you guys remember Mindless Behavior? They were an R&B boy group that rose to prominence in the early 2010s. They experienced moderate success and had a massive teen girl fan base. They were kind of...
This was a crazy era. Say my girl, she loves me. She know I'm on my mind even when we don't speak. Say my girl, she loves me. And give me all the time. Gonna be bringing up the hood like do, yeah. Hey. Hold on.
US version of One Direction. At the height of their popularity, they sat down to do an interview with The Breakfast Club, and then this happened.
Mindless behavior!
Mindless behavior!
Now, you guys would totally object to how Charlamagne is speaking to these young gentlemen.
Yeah, he asked if Roxy tried to smash one of them yesterday.
Listen, I was watching 106 in Park, and it seemed like Roxy was feeling one of y'all. So I was asked, I said, which one of y'all was Roxy trying to smush yesterday?
Oh, man, stop it. Stop it. How old are you guys?
Of course it would be this Charlamagne the guy. He would be the first inductee when it come down to this goddamn essay shit, bro. Come on, dog. Come on, Charlamagne. That's what you asking these kids, dog.
14. All 14.
You should be ashamed of yourself,
Y'all virgins?
Charlamagne!
Man, come on. When you was 14, was you a virgin?
Yes.
Yes.
Have some real talk with these young men.
Yes.
Of course they are.
I feel it, but brother, we live on air, bro. We live on air. You flashing, gang. Like we gotta uphold a good image, bro. New on the scene, bro. This is when they was really in their prime type shit. Like they really just got that chill, gang. Why you won't know that anyways? Like what?
Yes, they are.
Yes, we are.
I'm hearing 35-year-old women coming to y'all shows and coming to y'all in-stores.
Nice.
Y'all better take advantage of some of that vintage.
Yo, Charlamagne!
Chill, gang. Let them live.
Gosh, they're 14 years old now.
Now, at the time of this interview, they weren't all 14, but the youngest was 13 and the oldest was turning 15. So they were still kids.
That's crazy,
but
man.
boys, and this is especially true for black boys, are considered to be more equipped to handle sex than girls at the same age. Charlamagne, in his Inquisition, didn't even consider the implication of a 30-year-old woman having sex with a 14-year-old boy to not only be morally wrong, but also illegal. It's a crime. But because boys are expected to be able to handle sex, he couldn't even rationalize the larger implications of his questioning. To really highlight this disparity between how we treat the sexualization of boys and girls, we can look at two different Vanity Fair articles. In 2008, a then 15-year-old Miley Cyrus appeared topless, covered in a sheet on the cover of Vanity Fair. The cover was immediately met with backlash. Miley had to issue a public apology for appearing on the cover. Now, I'm not saying that this cover of Miley was appropriate, but I do think that the vitriolic backlash specifically against an underaged Miley Cyrus did seem disproportionate to the reception of when an underaged Justin Bieber did a Vanity Fair cover. In 2011, a then 16-year-old Justin Bieber did a Vanity Fair photo shoot with photos of him appearing shirtless and being fanned over, kissed, and grabbed by multiple women. Of course, there was no backlash to this cover, which is especially hypocritical considering that Justin's Vanity Fair photo shoot was more explicitly sexual in tone than Miley's. The whole point of Justin's photo shoot was to highlight how attractive and highly sought after he is by girls. But because Justin is a boy, the explicit implication of him being desired by women isn't seen as problematic as it was for Miley to in any way play into her sexuality or desirability. As they both grew older, Miley would continue to receive many backlash for being considered too sexually provocative, such as when she was accused of strip dancing on a pole during her Kids' Choice Awards performance, for which she also had to issue a public apology. But Justin performing more sexually...
She just couldn't win, huh? She couldn't do nothing, damn. But Justin, on the other hand, he doing his ditty. He got the girls on stage, kissing them, probably giving them lap dances, all type of shit.
Provocatively as he grew older was never an issue. There are some reasons for why the backlash was so disproportionate. For one, Miley was considered to be a more child-friendly act due to her association with Disney, so any Disney act really being sexually provocative would have been controversial, even for the boys, which is why the Jonas Brothers went on that whole purity ring run. However, at the core of the disparity is simply the fact that Justin, as a boy, is considered to be mature enough to handle topics like sex, while Miley, as a girl, is not. And those attitudes leads to the exploitation and predation of young male stars. In 2017, 27-year-old Allie Michael posted on her Instagram story how attractive she found then 14-year-old Stranger Things star Finn Wolfhard. She also tagged him in the post, so there's that. She did receive backlash for her public admittance of being attracted to a minor, but just the mere fact that she felt comfortable enough to publicly post that and tag him
speaks... I ain't lying though. Publicly posting that and tagging them is OD, bro. OD, bro. That's crazy shit, bro. Come on now. That was some stupid shit, to be honest.
volumes about our attitudes towards male sexuality. Unfortunately, Finn wasn't the only Stranger Things co-star to have been inappropriately accosted by an older woman. Recently, Gaten Matarazzo reveals that an older fan in her 40s admitted to him that she's had a crush on him since he was 13 years old. In front of her daughter. Gaten describes feeling very uncomfortable with the interaction and how much it still bothers him to this day.
Bro, no way, bro.
So, Aaron Taylor Johnson has been centered in the conversation of grooming of young boys because of his relationship with his wife, Sam Taylor Johnson. They have a whopping 23-year age difference, and they met and allegedly started dating while he was still a teenager. Aaron Taylor Johnson's relationship with his wife is probably the most popular example of a very large age gap where the male is the younger party. Aaron met Sam when he was around 18 or 19 working on a movie. Sam had just broken up with her husband, and apparently Aaron had a very busy schedule, and so they decided that he would audition for the movie at her home. Aaron auditioned and completely blew Sam away, and she immediately knew he was perfect for the role. At that point, Sam was in the process of divorcing her ex-husband, who she had 2 daughters with. There have been some rumors and speculation that Sam has known Aaron since he was a child, as she was a family friend, but those rumors are unsubstantiated. What we do know for a fact is that they began their working relationship when Aaron was still a teenager. Almost immediately after working together, Aaron and Sam allegedly began their romantic relationship. Shortly after, they had their first child together, and not too long, they were officially married. Now, Aaron being at the center of these conversations is a bit conflicting to me. Aaron and Sam are very secretive about the nature of their relationship. They both at different points have expressed...
I don't know, bro. I don't know. That's a cougar right there. I don't know about that one. I don't think I could cuff nothing like that. I got age limits. I ain't gonna cap. Like, I can't be dating no 30-year-old, brother. I ain't gonna cap. I'm only a nigga, only 21, bruh. I gotta, like, you can't be too old, bruh. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like my limit on age, like at the age I'm at right now, I say the oldest I'll probably talk to, depending on how she look and depending on how her personality is, I probably go like 24 maybe, like a little 2-year age. Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know, bro. I can't do the 30-year-olds. No, bro. I gotta do like I'm cool with like a 3-year, 4-year, like, you know. I'm cool with that, but I don't know. 30-year-olds and shit. 35, hell no. Nah, bro.
Appointment in the public's opinion over their marriage and age gap. What I thought was the saddest thing, though, was that a couple months ago, Aaron spoke about his marriage in a rare conversation. He defends his relationship, saying that he feels he was more mature for his age and that he doesn't believe he was taken advantage of. He reaffirms his love for his wife and their family. Now, on one hand, Aaron is 33 years old at this point, and I do think that continually centering him in these conversations can obscure how widely common these interactions are. Boys are constantly at risk for these kinds of sexual exploitation, and Aaron is no longer a boy. Aaron isn't 18 anymore, and while I think we definitely can continue to have conversations around his exploitation, I don't think it's always productive to center Aaron in those conversations. It's also because I do think that most conversations around Aaron seem to be more preoccupied with how unlikable or unattractive Sam is, rather than about Aaron's well-being. I'm just not convinced that most people actually care about Aaron in these situations. It does seem like the bulk of the concern really comes from jealousy, from the frustration of someone so attractive like Aaron being in a relationship with someone they don't consider to be as conventionally attractive like Sam. And it kind of feeds into this idea that if Sam were more conventionally attractive, then there would be less concern around this relationship and his exploitation. A lot of the concern on the internet seems to be more rooted in the idea that they're frustrated that they can't get to be with Aaron. And to me, that doesn't really indicate a true care for Aaron's situation or his well-being. Now, I just want to end this conversation by saying women and young girls are still far more likely to be victims of these kinds of exploitation than boys. Women are overwhelmingly the victims of sexual assault, and men are overwhelmingly the perpetrators of sexual assault.
Nah, I ain't lying though. We definitely need more awareness on, sexual assault as a whole though, cause I ain't lying, that shit ain't cool, bro. At the end of the day, like they really got people out here really, in those tough situations, bro. No cap though. So, prayers up for people who ever been in those situations. Like, prayers up for y'all, man. I ain't gonna lie, but yeah, that's crazy though, bro. Like this shit really getting out of hand, dog.
No way am I trying to say that these issues are happening at the same rate. However, I do think that we still need to create space and opportunities to have these conversations around the exploitation of boys. And a large part of those conversations have to happen among men. Men have to change our relationship with sexuality so that boys as young as 12 don't feel pressured to prove their masculinity by being sexually promiscuous, so that they do not have to become vulnerable to those kinds of exploitation. It starts with men, and for it to get better, men on a large scale have to change our attitudes towards sexuality.
No bap though, man. W video, bro. Trying though. Yeah, bro. We gotta have some change. I ain't gonna lie though, cause this essay shit getting out of hand, bro. No bap. Shit crazy, dog.